Hello. So I'm finally going to be reading Chapter 3 of Blood and Genetics. I'm so sorry it took me so long to post this. It's just, I don't know what it is with this chapter, but I can't seem to stop stuttering like every 2 seconds while reading it. So I keep having to retake and I just get frustrated and I drop it. So yeah, I'm so sorry. But yeah, anyway, so let's actually get into it. Keith Kagane, please come to the commander's office. There's a bit of oohing from Keith's classmates, but he ignored them, shitting his history textbook with the woomph. He got up and followed a lower-ranked officer to Iverson. Some woman that he had never seen before was standing with Iverson, holding a mug with something steaming hot, and Shiro was nowhere in sight. Shiro can't make it today, Iverson said gruffly at his inquiring glance. He's got training to do. Science Officer Holt is standing in. Keith's eyes widened. He hadn't realized that the woman was military. He snapped into a military salute. Ma'am? She laughed. At ease. They trained that into you, haven't they? You can call me Colleen. I'm a friend of Shiro's. We're just going to ask you a couple questions, Keith, and then you can head back to class. Do I have to? Yes, Iverson growled. Sit. Sorry. Colleen Holt leaned against Iverson's desk, setting her mug down on the desk as Keith sat in a chair that was too tall for him, his legs swinging aimlessly above the ground. You lived in the desert with your dad, is that right, Keith? Yes, ma'am. Right, so what about your mother? Keith's spine stiffened and his legs stopped kicking. What about her? Do you know anything about her? Name? Ethnicity? All I know is that she left us, Keith managed to spit out, and she never came back. Your father never talked about her? Keith shrugged. He said that she was wonderful, out of this world even. To his surprise, Iverson and Colleen Holt exchanged a glance at that. Didn't stop her from running out while I was a baby. He shoved his hands in his pockets, his shoulders reflexively hunching as if making himself smaller would protect him from their inquiring gazes. And you don't remember anything about her? Anything at all? No. There were no pictures, anything she left behind? Keith thought of the knife, tucked away in his room, hidden under a pile of socks in his drawer. No, ma'am, no pictures. There was a long pause in which Keith felt a bead of sweat drip down the back of his neck, sure that they would call him out on his lie. But then Colleen Holt smiled. All right then, Keith, you're free to go. Don't skip class, okay? Keith practically jumped out of his chair, eager to get out of here as soon as possible. Yes, ma'am. Wait a moment, cadet. Iverson growled, and Keith froze. Aren't you wondering why we're asking about your mother? Because of my DNA test, Keith guessed. Correct. Once Shirogane is done with training and you're out of school, we'll talk about it. Yes, sir. Keith practically bolted from the room. He'd never been more desperate to get to class in his life. Colleen calmly sat down in the chair that Keith had vacated and took a sip of her herbal tea grown in her own garden. He's lying, she said calmly. He does have something that his mother left behind. How do you know? Colleen chuckled. He gets the same look that my Matt always gets when he's lying to me. Katie can lie fairly well. She's planned out the lie beforehand, but Matt, he gets this cagey, hunted look and won't meet your eyes. Then he exits his room as fast as possible to get away from me. I can always tell when he's lying, and I could tell that Keith was. He might not remember his mother at all, but he certainly owns something that once belonged to her. We can't base an investigation on a vague hunch that he's lying. No, you're right, we can't. But if he has something that belonged to his mother, then he must have carried it around, right? Colleen tapped the computer screen where Keith's file glowed at her. Track down his foster homes and ask. Even if we find out what he owns, we still can't search for it. No, but it'll be caught off guard if we ask about a specific object, and it might reveal the truth. Look into it for me, okay? I'll check. Right, I've got to go now. The plant labs need me. I'll be back once Keith is out of school. Iverson nodded his goodbye, already on the search. A moment after Colleen left his office, there was a knock. Come in. James Griffin edged in. Sir, shouldn't you be in class, cadet? It's my study period, sir. I came to ask about Cadet Kagane and how his eyes. That's none of your business, cadet. We've appreciated that you brought the issue to our attention, and rest assured that we're taking care of it. But you're not privy to information regarding the situation. Sir, that was a dismissal, cadet. Sir, Griffin saluted, turned and left, heading towards the dorms. He wasn't planning on giving this up. Not now. Not ever. Shiro smiled at Keith. Nervous? A little bit, Keith admitted. They were asking about my mother earlier. Shiro's eyebrows drew together. Without me? You were in training, Keith explained. It still didn't sit well with Shiro, but he let it go, stepping into Iverson's office. He brightened, happy to see a familiar face. Colleen, she smiled back. Shiro, how's training? It's going well, can't complain. We're not here to discuss the Kerberos mission, Iverson growled, and they broke back to their respective sides, Colleen standing with Iverson and Shiro standing with Keith. Thank you. Keith, we're going to study this plane. Your X-gene isn't human. Keith froze. My what now? That's right, I forgot about your abysmal biology grade, Iverson muttered under his breath. Keith pulled his ears, heat up, and he looked to Colleen Holt for help. She smiled. When a baby is conceived, there are 2 sets of genes, one from each parent, she explained. Women only have X genes, while men have an X and Y gene. Your Y gene comes from your mother, and if you're a girl, you'll get another one from your father. I'm not a girl, Keith said automatically. I didn't think so. Well, that means that your Y gene came from your father, of course, and your X gene came from your mother. Okay. Well, your Y gene is completely normal, nothing strange about it, but your X gene, it's not human. Keith frowned. What do you mean it's not human? How could it be anything else? We don't know, Colleen said simply. We were hoping that you could tell us. I can't, Keith said instantly. I don't know anything about her. We decided that this non-human X gene is the reason for your condition, so we've been trying to figure out more about her. We've been running tests on the genes, unraveling the specific ribosomes too. Holt, Iverson barked. He doesn't understand what you're saying. Colleen Holt shut her mouth, looking at Keith, who imagined that he probably looked very lost, exactly how he felt. We're doing more tests on your DNA to find out more, she said simply. Okay. If you remember anything about your mother, please do tell us. We're hoping to get to the bottom of this soon. Keith bit his lip. Can you fix me? Colleen Holt looked at him in surprise. What do you mean? Keith shifted from foot to foot. I mean, can you make it so that maybe my eyes don't do that thing when I get angry? Or, I don't know, anything else weird that the gene does that might make me different from everyone else? Can you fix it so I don't act like a psychopath? I don't know, Keith. We do have some grasp on genetic altering, but since you've gotten this far in your life, I don't think it's much of an option. It's one thing to alter an embryo's genes so that they turn out differently as they develop, but in adolescence, I don't think that our capabilities extend that far. Oh. Okay. Colleen smiled at him. You and Shiro can go now. The commander and I need to keep talking. We just wanted to let you know what we've uncovered so far. Keith nodded and left, Shiro on his heels. Keith, are you okay? I'm fine. Has someone said something to you? Sure, lots of people. You've said stuff to me. My teachers have said a lot of stuff to me. Officer Holt has. You know what I mean. Something upsetting. No one said anything upsetting to me. It wasn't a lie. They technically hadn't said anything to him. He just happened to overhear. Griffin isn't giving you any trouble then? No. Shiro hesitated. Keith, have I done anything to upset you? Keith blinked up at him in surprise. No, Shiro, you haven't done anything. Why would you even think that? Well, the other night, I thought it was because you never read my messages. Keith stared at the floor guiltily. I meant to read those later. I guess I forgot. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you think. The librarian said that you seemed upset. She approached me, said that you stormed out of the library the other day. Keith winced. Oh, yeah. Are you sure you're okay? Freak. I'm okay, just pressure from my teachers about school and how I'm going to fail it all, even though I'm doing just fine on the quizzes and tests. Shiro's face shifted immediately from confused and concerned to relieved and somewhat exasperated. You've got to do your homework, Keith. Yeah, I know. Then do it. Okay. Colleen leaned against Iverson's desk, pulling out a small screen. We've been trying to digitally create a person that would be Keith's mother. We've assumed that any facial features not from his father's side must be from his mother's, and we've been using what we've been able to tease out of his DNA. What do you have? Same face and nose shape as Keith. Got his hair, as Keith. Keith got his hair from his father and his eye shape from his grandmother on his father's side, so we don't know what those look like. The melatonin in her skin, however, Colleen pulled up the image. Purple? Yes, purple. We've also have some implications of strange markings on her face. It makes sense if she's another species. We haven't found any of the species on Earth, so aliens? Yes, so aliens. Her genes also indicate that she's rather tall. Akira Kagane wasn't exactly short. How in the world did the cadet end up so small? Colleen shrugged. Keith's growth patterns indicate that he might be a bit of a late bloomer. He'll grow taller, but not quickly like the others. Most of the cadets, including the females, will probably be taller than him for a long period of time. Iverson chuckled. That'll be interesting. What about your end? What have you found out about any possible belongings? One of the foster homes reported a knife, but the other ones never saw it. What happened when the first foster home found it? They took it away, but it went mysteriously missing from where they'd hid it, and they never found it on Keith, though. He wouldn't make the same mistake twice. I'm betting that he's the one who stole it. Which means that it's likely someplace on the garrison grounds. His room? Probably. A knife would be grounds to search his room because it's a danger to the facility and the other students. We could search very quickly. You don't have to, a voice from behind behind them said. Griffin was standing in the doorway, holding a dagger. I already looked. Iverson stood up. Cadet, I'm on the verge of expelling you. I told you that you were done with this investigation, and that means you are done. Go put it back where you found it. But then you'll have to. We are not going to rely on the cadets to do our job for us, and certainly not the cadets who are nosing around where they shouldn't. Go put it back. Griffin scowled. Yes, sir. Griffin sulked back to Keith's room, opening his dresser drawer and burying the knife under a pile of socks. He looked around and poked at Keith's computer. The computer showed several missed messages from Takashi Shirogane, and Griffin's scowl got deeper. What is he seeing, Keith? He muttered. What are you doing in here? Griffin rolled around to see Keith standing in the doorway, his arms crossed. What are you doing in here? A brief look of confusion flitted across Keith's face. This is my room. Griffin feigned surprise. Oh, really? Thought it was McLean's room. Sorry. Good thing I didn't use any of the shaving cream yet. Keith scowled. He's 3 doors down. Thanks, see ya. Griffin scooted past Keith and went down the hallway. He could still sense Keith's violet eyes glittering coldly, piercing his back. Keith watched Griffin go down the hallway, completely walking past Lance McLean's room, and his eyes narrowed. What was he up to? Keith had already doubted that he was here to prank McLean, but this just cinched it. He went to his computer and turned it on, typing in the password. Nothing had been touched, so he performed a check of his room, making sure nothing was missing. He opened his drawer, and a stab of panic went through his heart as his hand closed on empty air, where his knife should be. He sifted through the socks, finding it a few inches away. He frowned, so his knife was Griffin was after, but why? Oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm probably not going to record this again because I've done it so many times, but I'm so sorry if you see my camera. Yeah, okay. And I'm so sorry if I stuttered. I hope you guys enjoyed it, though. I'm sorry.